Welcome to the Heather Petty Podcast, where our goal is to help you reach your potential by increasing clarity, building confidence, and engaging courage. Heather is a leadership coach, trusted advisor, and admired author. I'm Christina Morales, a writer and marketer, and Heather is my dear friend and confidant. And today we're going to talk about the decision-making process. We make decisions every day, from whether we want to go out to dinner or not, where to go to dinner, or even life-changing choices. Should we switch a job? Should we let our child go away to college during COVID-19? I mean, these are huge decisions. Our lives are full of choices that we need to make. So Heather, as a leadership coach, one of your roles is to help guide your clients in the decision-making process. You've said before that the answers are usually in the person and you just listen and bring it out of them. What are some ways that you help them to make the hard choices in their lives?
That's a great question, Christina. I don't want to make it oversimplified, but I do want to give kind of an answer that helps you get a handle on it. Because it is a complex process and I want to respect that. But I will say very simply, pulling away and giving yourself time to think and to listen and really to play.
Okay.
What I'm seeing is, as part of why I wrote the book, The Bracelet, you know, it's about this girl who wears all these bracelets, and it started from her young years, and somehow it creeped up on her where she's wearing them all the way up to kind of her past her elbows, and she can't go play on her tire swing anymore, and she can't spend time on the stars. She's living a life out of duty and obligation. She's really, when we do that, we lose so much of our sense of self. And so what happens, people come to me and they want to make a good decision, but they've stopped listening to themselves. My job is not to help them make the right decision. My job is to help them to take off some of these bracelets, go get back on their tire swing, which is an active form of rest, go spend time under the stars, which is more of a passive form of rest, and start hearing yourself again. But the hard part of that is oftentimes when they do that, their self-talk is so harsh, mean, and negative that I go, yeah, I know. I've been there. Honestly, I've been there. That's why we run faster and harder and do more, because when we actually take that time, we hear, I'm not enough. I'm failing everywhere. I'm blowing it. You know, I'm too much. I'm too less, whatever it is that we tell ourselves. This is why we spend more time avoiding and running and even kind of finding some of these addictions in our life. And I think that learning how to just stop long enough, listen to kind of your internal chatter and join that dialogue in a way of kind of staying curious about yourself, but learning how to really listen well to yourself, hear what you're saying to yourself, and then see if you can change the dialogue. And this is why it's very hard then to make decisions. If you're living with this kind of belief that you don't have what it takes to show up well in life, you're going to come to a crossroad and you're going to freak out. So you call someone like me as a coach and you're like, can you help me make this right decision? Should I turn left? Should I turn right? Should I go straight? Should I go backwards? And I will never tell you, you should turn left, right, straight, or go backwards. I will only tell you, I don't know. Let's set up camp here. Let's kind of stop and learn how to listen to yourself. Let me ask you some questions and let me tell you what I'm hearing you tell yourself. Out of that, you will be empowered to start making the decision in which direction you want to go. And so that's kind of the metaphor I like to use, which is, yep, we're going to camp here at the crossroads. Let's roast some marshmallows. Let's talk about this. Let's invite in the right questions, not which way you should go, but let's invite in, how are you feeling? You know, what is making you feel more anxious? What is making you feel more peaceful? Let's talk about what you're telling yourself. And then you will have, it's almost like the clouds part and you have this clarity and you say, I think I'm supposed to turn left. And I say, go ahead. And then I give them this true belief of, if that's the wrong direction, don't worry, you can do a U-turn. You know, we live then with this false belief of, if I turn left, I can never turn around again. I've made the most massive mistake in the world. No, you haven't. You're learning how to trust yourself and you're learning how to show up for your life in what fits you. And then you get to learn from every experience along the way, not as a form of failure, but as an opportunity to say, oh, I thought I should have turned left, or I did turn left, but I forgot to bring my backpack when I turned left. So you begin to really kind of become a student of yourself and a student of life.
I love that because it's kind of preparing you for a life of no regrets because you're thinking it through, you're leaving off the expectations. And then when you think back, and maybe you did make that choice to take that job, and then later on you're like, ooh, that wasn't the best choice. Well, you did everything right and you did everything you thought you should. And so now that's a learning experience and not a choice made out of ignorance or just pressure or anything like that. So that's
Right.
so cool. Well, in my family, we're completely different kinds of decision makers. My answer is always yes. Like, do you want to jump off the cliff? Yeah, let's go. My husband is super cerebral. He thinks about it. Okay, well, what's this going to cost me? He's super cautious, which makes us a great balance. My youngest daughter can't make a decision. What do you want to eat? Macaroni and cheese or bologna? She can't make any choices. Do you see this in coaching? Like, what type of decision makers do you find?
Oh, yeah. There are so many different types. You know, I write about this in my book, and I call them, there's these, what I call them kind of the melters, like they're melting down at the crossroads. And the
Yeah.
longer they see the decisions in front of them, the more they kind of freak out.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones I call are the speedies. They're just speeding through everywhere. And you don't, they're like a whir going by you all the time. So they're just like, and I'm going to go this way, I'm going to go that. I'm like, okay, go for it. Like, I don't even know if you stop to think about it. And I would say I've been both. You know, I've sped through different crossroads in my life, and I've gone, yeah, I'm going to go this, this, this. And then something has really misfired or backfired on me, and it's been a painful learning experience. And then I have this self-doubt, and then I come to another crossroad, and all I sit there is kind of melt down and bite my nails.
That's good.
So I think we have both of this in us. One of the things I like to talk about then is being the pauser. You know, I just see it as, okay, there's a third group of people, which is what we want to step into and start becoming, which is this sense of, I get to pause at the crossroad. I get to take all the time I need to assess this within me and invite the right people around my little campfire. And I get to stay in this. Now, certainly there's snap decisions we have to make because of the urgency of life.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I think we're living life with this urgency that is irrational. It's not there, and it's impractical, and frankly, it's unsustainable. So one of the biggest questions I have to say is, well, what's the urgency here? Like, don't you have, can't we get 3 months, meeting once a week to just slow down long enough? If this is a decision you have to make that's going to impact the rest of your life, maybe you want to take 3 months to stop and look at it.
Right.
It's kind of trying to figure out the crossroads that are significant enough that makes you stop and become that pauser. But we're treating every crossroad oftentimes as we got to make a snap decision. I think it's less true than we realize.
Mm-hmm. That's good, but I'm not going to let my husband listen to this podcast because basically you said he's right and I'm wrong. So we're not going to go there. It's true. Like he weighs everything, and I'm like, let's just do it. But like we've looked at a bunch of houses because we want to sell a house. I'm like, let's get this one. Let's get this one. He's like, no, let's analyze this. And so no, it's perfect, and I need to hear this for me. But what about someone who's like my daughter, who she just gets paralyzed when she has to make this most simple of decisions? How do I spur her forward?
Yeah, what she's really looking for is an opportunity to stop long enough and feel affirmed that she has all the time she needs. I too am kind of a fast pace like you, Christina, and I've got a real strong thinker in my husband and in my daughter. And one of the things that makes them melt down is if they feel like someone, like they have hands in their back pushing them. Okay. So I kind of own that and recognize I am a high achiever. I do have strong clarity on where I want to go, but there's so much value in having these type of relationships in my life because they make me stop and listen, and I learn so much. And it kind of is along that same lines of staying curious, right? So I don't need to stop sometimes. I got strong clarity. I'm supposed to go north. I'm going. But if I want to be on a journey with my husband and with my daughter and with my son, I want to make sure I'm stopping listening to them. Sometimes we're supposed to journey together and sometimes we're not. So I'm giving the freedom for that. But if your daughter's melting down at the crossroad as a parent and as a mother and really as a mentor to her and eventually a friend, being able to say, sweetie, you got all the time you need. it takes this internal pressure off to
Okay.
say, oh, I can consider macaroni and cheese or bologna. And one of the things I've done with my daughter, we've done this. I can feel the pressure in the store, and really, should I get the blue dress or should I get the green
Yeah,
dress?
exactly.
And if I say, yeah, just get the blue dress, what happens, it kind of triggers her anxiety,
Hmm.
because what she's not getting the permission to do is to really stop and think through the blue dress and the green dress.
Mhm.
So what we do is we literally pull off to the side and I say, okay, let's talk about this. And I'm not kidding you. We'll do this for about 20 minutes, Christina.
Oh my goodness, you're
Yeah,
killing me.
I know. Sorry.
We're like fast paced. Yeah.
I know.
Just
It's
nailing
for
the
those of us who are speedies, it's a really
right.
important life exercise, because
Yes.
you and I both know it's not about the blue dress or the green dress or the macaroni and cheese or the bologna.
Exactly.
We're more concerned as a mother going, what in the world's going on? She can't make a decision. Well,
Right.
she's feeling the internal pressure from herself to make the right decision. And then she's feeling the external pressure from us to make it quicker. Right?
Mhm.
So what we want to do is we want her to feel she's got all the time in the world. And we just did this the other day. We were shopping and we pulled over to the side and I just sat there. I mean, for someone like me, I don't need this, but for someone like her, she does. And we
Yeah.
literally went through the blue dress and how it might match her eyes, the green dress. Does she have anything green? When would be the next time she's going to wear it? I
Right.
mean, and my achiever got hooked into her processing it instead of just make a decision, because that's what she's starting to feel. And that's what starts triggering the self-doubt that she can't make the decision as fast as mom. She doesn't have the power to do that. So it's a real kind of exercise in patience. But as I've really embraced it, I've been having a blast doing it. Yeah. I've even been in the grocery store. I'm like, sounds like we need to talk about this. I'll pull over the cart and I swear I just want to get the almond milk and not the rice milk. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
sometimes she needs to talk about it. It's never about that. It's about helping my daughter make a decision that makes her feel empowered. And I promise you, this does happen. And I tell this to all my speedies,
Yeah.
eventually they start making the decisions quicker and quicker, because it's about them starting to feel confident in their decision and the pressure's taken off of themselves internally. And I am participating in her hearing herself instead of get the result and make the decision. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to pressure her into it. I want her to learn how to be a strong decision maker. And so I want to equip her with the tools. That's kind of what this is all about, is we want to equip ourselves with the right tools. But yeah, so you're saying that it won't get better in 10 years because my daughter's 8 and yours is 18.
Yep. I've had to slow way
process.
down. And the other thing I'll do is, I really do need to make a decision in 10 minutes. I don't have 20 or 30 or whatever it is. I'll say, okay, it sounds, we need to make this decision and I only have 10 minutes to talk through this with you. So let's really set some time aside to sit down and really talk through this.
Mm-hmm.
That way she knows she's got access to me. She's got access to her internal sense of self, because, our daughters look to us to help them organize themselves internally. And if I feel a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of impatience or something like that, it's signaling to me that I really don't have the time to do that, but I want to make the time.
Okay.
My other thought too is I just empower her. Hey, sounds like you might need some think time on this. It's a term I use. Why don't you think about this a little bit and then come back to me, and I'll be here waiting to help you think through it. So you're basically teaching them how to pace themselves in a decision-making process, and you're kind of helping them put boundaries on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just say, okay, we'll need to know by this date. And then I give her the confidence. Don't worry. You'll know which college you're supposed to go to. So I'm holding that hope and confidence for her, because, and this was what happened to us. She was so nervous about which college to attend that she had, and I'm not kidding you, she had 20. What is that telling me? She's super nervous that she's not going to make the right choice. So my job is not to let her go look at all 20. She'll drive herself crazy. You and I both know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
My job is to help her create a boundary. So I said, let's narrow it down to 6. Can we do that? Well, it created more anxiety for her. I said, don't worry. We're going to get the help we need. I didn't know what we were going to do, but I was like, clearly me helping her narrow it down was making her more anxious. So I said, would it be helpful if I hired a professional, a college planner? She's like, yes. I said, perfect. I get to be the mom role. And
Mm-hmm.
I literally just sat there and listened to it. Now, here's the funny thing, Christina. I actually knew which 6 colleges in my head that I thought she would really like.
Uh-huh.
And at the same hand, she couldn't hear that from me. So we went through a 6-month process so that, because this was a big life decision and I wanted her to get the feel for how she needs to make decisions. We got someone else objectively involved so I could just be the mother. And all I did, and I let her handle it, and they were on Zoom calls. She handled the whole thing, talked through everything, took all the diagnoses and the tests. I am not kidding you. It got down to the exact 6 colleges. And then I had to zip my lip and not say, I told you so. I'd be like,
Right.
wow, that was an important process. Those look like the 6 universities that are really a good match for you. Now, I knew this because I know my daughter, and it was strangely confirming to me as a mother to go, yeah, you were right on, Heather. But it was not about that. It was about her taking that journey and recognizing what my daughter needed to take that journey well. And so she could confidently step into that decision. And it wasn't just, oh, I did this because mom put the pressure on me to hurry up and make the decision.
Mm-hmm. So when you're personally making decisions, what process do you use? Do you need to talk it out with someone? Do you make lists? Do you put a deadline on yourself? Okay, I have 1 week to make an important decision. What helps you?
That's a great question. You know, I think we all have our Achilles heels of what makes us make wrong decisions, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is a fear of disappointing people. So that's the first thing I check. And I have a couple safe people in my life that I reach out to and say, I've got this big thing coming down the pipe and I can feel it pulling on me to say yes. And honestly, the bigger the opportunity, the more pressure you're going to feel, right? If you're asked to go speak to 10 people versus, 500 people, I still have to check it the same exact way, which is I'm feeling this pressure to say yes to them, but I don't have the time. I don't have the space. I really don't want to. And it's a lot of work to get ready to go do a public presentation. So I think I want to say no, but I'm scared to say no because I'm scared of disappointing 500 people. I have to say that out loud to a dear friend or like my husband. He's always helping me because he's such a great boundary person. But that's just recognizing what your Achilles heels is will help you deal with that first. Then you'll help you make the decision. If I recognize it's okay, I've dealt with that. I'm not scared about disappointing. I've said what I needed to say. Okay, yeah, I'm ready to say yes to this. Or I realized the only reason I was saying yes was because I was scared of disappointing them. Then I know I need to say no. And then I will literally say, can you support me in this? Can you stand with me in this? Because they know it's my weak area. And so that has helped me do is kind of grown my ability to make decisions better and better. And as my world has grown around me, having that kind of awareness and then having those go-to people, and I've just got a handful of them. I can't handle a lot, but I have a handful who knows this about me. And so then I say, gosh, I've got this big decision and I can feel it pulling on me and I'm scared. I'm scared I'm making it for the wrong reasons. Can you help me sort through it? So therefore, it's not really on the focus of, should I say yes or no? It's more of, can you help me at the heart level to make sure I understand myself on why I might be saying yes or why I might be saying no?
That's so good because sometimes you can get pressure too. So when you're emailing someone, sorry, I can't come, and they'll say, oh, but we were really looking forward to it. Now you already have your resolve. And so you know your why and you can stick to your decision, which is so helpful. And you mentioned your husband, Darren. What does his decision-making process look like? And how do you come together on difficult life decisions?
Oh man, I love that man. He's so
He's
strong.
pretty cool.
He's really cool. Yeah. I kind of have a little bit of decision envy when I look at him. And it was just funny you would ask that because just this morning, he knows my Achilles heel and of my fear of disappointing people. And what's happened is my world has grown and I have a really strong company. I can feel it kind of raising its head again, and so when I only had, just a handful of people that I might've been working with, now I have hundreds that I'm kind of working with.
Wow.
I can feel it starting to influence me again. And one of the things I'm getting asked to do quite a bit now is, can you help me move into coaching?
Really?
Oh yeah. And I love the field. And so I'm like, yes, I would love to. Christina, I have no business taking on anything else. So I've told a couple friends, and one of them is my amazing assistant that I love. And it's her job to say, Heather, your calendar is completely full. We literally cannot put anything else on it. And I'm like, but I want to say yes to this person, you know? So I either have to own the fact, why do I want to say yes? And then I have to step into it and say, am I feeling pressured to say yes? And sometimes, you know, I'm really good at saying, oh yeah, I can say no to that because it's not a decision that I'm excited about. What I'm having a harder time doing, honestly, is saying no to really good decisions. I mean, good opportunities and good people. That's my challenge now. And I go, it's kind of a cool challenge to have. You know, you've had other seasons in your life where you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Right.
But to have to say no to really cool opportunities because you really cannot put one more thing on your calendar, that's really hard for me. And so I had to say no to really a good friend that I love and I think is going to make an amazing coach. But I just said, I know I told you yes, but I have to tell you no, and I'm so sorry. You know, I cannot fit one more thing on my calendar. And I am in the business, you know, I'm in the process of launching a book and launching my company and working with the biggest load of clientele I've ever worked with. As much as I want to say yes, I can't. And so, but here's the funny thing, and I'll just be vulnerable with it. I wrote the email, haven't heard from the individual. And then I started getting a little nervous, like, did I just lose a friend? And so this morning I did, and it was 2 days ago. And this morning I was like, honey, can you read this email? I just want to make sure that I said it right. You know, it's my fear of disappointing this and perhaps losing a friend. Now, you and I both know logically, if a good friend can't hear no, you know, it wasn't a good friend in the first place.
Right.
And so in my head, I'm pretty confident this friendship is going to be fine. But I feel like I'm dealing and wrestling with that. Oh, I had to say no. And I actually had to change my mind when originally I said yes. And I'm realizing I don't like saying no. And I wish I could say yes to this person. I had to deal with it with myself. And then I had to reach out to my amazing husband and friend who has no problem saying no and is also a huge protector of me to make sure that his wife is getting the boundaries she needs. And he was just, of course, so affirming. He's like, Heather, you said it perfectly. And you were kind, you were gracious, you were respectful. Now let this individual work through it. And the cool thing too is he was like, you even gave another resource. Here's where you get to connect with, you know? So I think it was so cool to say, okay, I get to do that, but I also get the support I need because it is vulnerable and it's hard. And I don't like having to do certain things and I have to deal with the emotions of that as well.
Mm-hmm. That's helpful, having someone affirm you. My husband's the same way, and I second guess myself. I'm like, Vinny, what should I do? You did the right thing. So that's invaluable. So I want to go in a little different direction. If someone you know is making a bad decision, do you step in? And when is it okay to share your opinion?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a couple things I ask is, one, if I earned the right, you know, is the trust there? Second is, do I have the energy? You know,
that's a good point.
Yeah. And then the third one I ask is this the right timing? So those are all little filters I kind of put in place to really check whether I should step into this or not. And I guess the other thing I would ask is, would I want someone to do this with me? And how would I want it to be done?
That's good. Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing I have found is I think we need to step into less than we realize. You know, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized I'm not helping as much as I think I might be helping. So, you know, that's a humbling awareness, but it was really important for me because I love helping people and love supporting them. I really need to ask permission first. I need to kind of check, do they want my help and what help are they looking for? You and I both know that there's a time to kind of step in and say, hey, I think you're off here, where they're not able to hear it. You know, they're in survival mode and what they really need is, hey, I care and I see what you're going through. Do I still think they might be making a bad decision? Yes. But is that the time to offer it? No, it's not, you know? So I think it's so tricky. And of course, as a parent, you've got a different responsibility. And as your kids age, it's more and more sensitive. You know, like I said, I have a 16 and 18-year-old, and how I give thoughts on their decisions now is very different than how I did when they were 3 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you're constantly monitoring that as a parent, but as a professional, I'm also just giving people the respect of, would you like my thoughts? And sometimes, I've worked with a lot of my clients for pretty long term. They'll start laughing. They're like, "Yes, Heather, I want to hear it."
Bring
And
it on.
I laugh and I joke. I said, I always have a thought, and I'll be happy to share it, but I do want to ask permission for it. And is this the time for it? And so I think if you can handle that with a deep respect for the other individual, and even just say, "Here's my intent," and sometimes you will be off. You will offer insight when it's not appreciated. That's still okay. All I say is, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I remember saying it to a client I was working with, and it was a very high pressure position and a situation she was experiencing, and she's the CEO of a company. And so I remember the intensity of a phone call, and I just stepped in to say something just kind of casually. It was not the right timing.
Mm-hmm.
And her response was very, very like reactive. And it's okay. I just said, "Hey, I'm sorry, this was not the right time." Do I still believe it? Of course I still believe it. Do I stand by it? Yes, I stand by it. But was the timing off? Yeah. So I'll apologize for the timing. That's no problem. So I think you're just kind of being aware of some of that so that the relationship feels safe. And it's not about feeling judged or criticized in their decisions. It's always about, I'm here for you. And if thinking it through is important, I want to be that for you. If you need to try this on your own without any kind of advice and insight, I understand. I've been there before. So I'm just kind of testing the waters of what that relationship can handle and what they're open to.
Mm-hmm. We talk about living intentionally, and I don't think we make our decisions as intentional as we should. Like, we don't think about the consequences. Like, should I watch TV or should I get on my treadmill? I've been choosing TV. Do I want the apple or the chips? I've kind of been choosing the chips. I mean, we're in survival mode, like we've talked about with COVID-19. And so I haven't been making the best personal choices. And these little decisions can build up to a big consequence, which is like the COVID-15, but we're not going to go there. How can we become more aware of making good decisions on a day-to-day basis?
I think it's slowing down. I think what's hard is we get into this frenzied pace and we don't even realize it. It's the proverbial frog in the water, just the heat keeps getting turned up more and more. I've just come off a month-long sabbatical where I've pulled back and I just clear the calendar every July from clients. And I realized I needed that several years ago when the intensity of my work was just so picking up and I was working internationally. I just thought I need a breather. I can't keep this pace. It's not sustainable for me. So the way that I work is to be able to just clear my calendar for a month. It's a kind of a reset button.
Okay.
But here I am, my first week back, Christina, and I'm like, is this the pace I used to keep? It's a little bit of shock and awe. And it's a beautiful reminder that we start just living this pace that is intense. And I will say, having, the teenagers home and the unexpected homeschooling and the COVID, all this stuff is probably intensifying my week. But it is definitely a moment where I'm kind of pausing and sitting back and reflecting and saying, what are you going to do to really hang on to a sense of peace and an internal awareness of kind of creating your own nest inside of you that you get to live in and carry that with you? Because the way the world can start pulling on you, it can be very distracting. And if you don't take time to pull away and kind of regroup, you just kind of get caught up in it. And so I'm really aware of it this week. And it's been a very important internal dialogue I'm having with myself. And I just had it with my husband this morning. How do we hang on to our space, our peace, our home, our quality of life as the world is starting to pull on all of us? And again, for good reasons. These aren't bad reasons. It's always easy to see the bad ones, but these are really good reasons. Both of us have companies that have really grown over the last several years. we're launching our firstborn into college, and we're flying down to get her situated.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a 16-year-old who's moving into his junior year in high school. And there's a lot of beautiful moving parts here. But if we don't come together as a united front to say, hang on, how do we insulate ourselves and make sure that we're really caring for our hearts, we will just get swept up in it. So it's a very conscious conversation and decision I'm making, but I don't have all the answers with it. It's just learning how to have that conversation.
Well, it's good. It's kind of like you're getting ahead of it too. So on a simplistic basis, it's don't buy the chips, just keep the apples in the fridge, you know, and be prepared for when stress comes that you have to make the right choice.
Right.
And you already have the answer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
It goes so quick.
So fast. I know. So please subscribe to the Heather Penny podcast. And for questions, comments, and resources, please visit heatherpenny.com. Remember, to live your best life and to make your best choices, you have to live intentionally. Have a great day, and we can't wait to see you next time. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome. Good talking to you.
You too.